Bitcoin is up almost 15%. And guys, is this a bull trap or is this the end of the bear market? Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JT, and we are back to the Crypto Den. Thank you all for tuning in. Today, we are going to be talking about Bitcoin because it is absolutely shredding. It is shredding. It is going insane. It went from 62 up to almost 80,000. We're talking close to 15%. And I've been covering the macro climate through the domino chain thesis that I've been putting out all these articles about since, last year. And we're live in it. So we're going to look at, is this a bull trap or not, right? Is my thesis just washed away with the wind? Or is this a legitimate start to the bull run? It's going to be interesting. Let's get into it. I made a deck just for you guys to review all the data, my thesis, and overall just cover what actually is happening here. I'm excited to show it to you guys. Things are developing. Every week is different. You got to stay on top of it. That's why you hit the subscribe button. I've been talking about yields rising, real estate going bad, the credit, cost of capital, everything that you're seeing in your timeline. I said almost a year ago, and I put my money where my mouth is. I have receipts for days. Check the channel. For those that do not know, before I get into it, my name is Jake Tullis. I go by JT, and I run Bleeding Edge Capital. It is a crypto hedge fund that is discretionarily long. I have over a decade of software development experience, and I do fundamental research, and I bring that research to the internet to help manage my capital and my investors' capital publicly and transparently, and additionally help you guys just get better at this industry. So with that, let's get into it. Is this the end of the bear market? Bitcoin just ripped past 70K. Washington blinked. My thesis is being put to the test. Bitcoin could run to 200K. It could also hit 50 or 30K. Like, genuinely, Bitcoin is volatile. I've always said this. It's riskier to be out than in. And a good friend of mine, Jeff, he had said that, he runs a Bitcoin fund, and, he's a colleague of mine. It was a really profound thought that the cost of not holding Bitcoin is greater than the risk of holding Bitcoin. And perhaps we're in that situation. We're going to get into it, though. Okay. That's what we're wrestling with publicly on the internet for you guys. I'm currently wrestling with this in closed doors with other fund managers. We're all kicking this tire. What is it? Well, first, let's look at potential catalysts for why Bitcoin would be ripping. Because honestly, the regulatory track is actually getting some steam. Clarity Act is stalled, but they did things. The SEC did things, the White House did things, the CFTC did things that we're going to cover that actually make the Clarity Act passing or failing not as critical. And it's actually massive, which could have been a catalyst. You also have the Treasury Secretary doing some things that could have also been a catalyst. It's really hard to determine, but it's really important to watch the Clarity Act. This has been the progress or the process so far. We got to look out for September 15th. Now, you might say, okay, nothing's happened since the 10th. Why are you even talking about it? Well, because all of this happened this week. All of it happened. All right. We have the SEC chair, Paul Atkins, say that the agency is fully prepared to write its own crypto rules with or without Congress, even while backing Clarity as the better long-term fix. So he's saying Clarity, love it. Let's do it. I'm a supporter, but I don't really care if it passes or not. We're going to give clear crypto regulations so people can build. We do not care. And they'll fight you for it. Them or you being Congress, right? So that's massive. So what does that mean? They're going to issue a formal SEC rule proposal covering digital asset markets independent of Clarity. And these are the people that actually enforce the rules. So Paul does not care what happens, right? That is huge. You also have this exemption, a separate track meant to give crypto firms breathing room while formal rules are finalized. What this means is they are basically exempting crypto projects from 5 to 75 million. They're like, look, you can raise money. We're not even going to worry about it until you get 5 million and it's like an investment contract or whatever. 75 million, then you're going to have to get another exemption, but you'll be okay. And then finally, we got to worry about you after you hit past 75 million and whatever you're doing in market cap, TVL, whatever. or just how much money you've raised, and so on. So now you can actually just build without even worrying about regulations at all. That basically lets companies and projects and protocols get started super, super easy in America. Like that's how my hedge fund started. I am exempt because you don't have to worry about the SEC till 110 million. They have a similar exemption pathway for all funds, right? So it just makes sense that it's applied to this asset class. So that was huge. And then finally, the CFTC, the other people that you should worry about if you're in the crypto space in America, they have a new committee with Coinbase, A160, Ripple, Chainlink, CME, and many more, with a session at the White House during the crypto summit. Okay, that they're kind of celebrating this innovation committee of private crypto leaders and companies and researchers and analysts and like actual experts with the CFTC. The only two people that can mess with the companies, regardless of Clarity Act, are the SEC and CFTC. Congress can do stuff, but they gotta kind of work through the SEC and CFTC. They work for Congress in a way, right? Congress determines their budget and all this other stuff. So they're kind of saying, I don't care what my boss says. We'll settle it in court if you disagree, but this is what I'm doing. So people are rallying behind this news. That could be absolutely a reason why it's ripping. At the summit, we had Trump, Paul Atkins, all of these people, right? That's who was there. NASDAQ, NYSE, CME Group, DTCC. These are TradFi's backbones. And they're meeting with these people, okay? Trump's bringing them all together. And this was basically what they were talking about. Find a path if the Senate cannot get clarity passed. Ergo, what we just discussed with the SEC and CFTC. It's the kickoff for that Innovation Advisory Committee, which I just talked about. Tokenization of real world assets and prediction markets. That is front and center because that stuff is getting adopted like no one's business. It would blow your absolute mind to see how much it's being adopted. And then finally, you have prediction markets. They put Clarity's odds of becoming law in 2026 in the 10 to 20% range. So basically, everyone's like, crap, likely won't get passed. And then Democrats could win the House or the Senate. And then there's a 0% chance it ever gets passed in Trump's term. So it could be as late as 2029 if we don't get it done in September, which is kind of scary. Definitely something to make note of, okay? Congress is stalled, regulators are moving anyways, they do not care. That could explain Bitcoin's bullishness, okay? But I have to do a full circle on my domino chain thesis, okay? Because all of that's happening and it's all great. Bitcoin is doing this for the first time in history, in my opinion, if we pull out in this, like if we go to 150K, this will be the first time that Bitcoin's ever done this in a macroeconomic climate that is not good, which means we could be catching some kind of paradigm shift, or the money is talking in a way that, takes a little bit of thought. So I'm going to walk you through. Okay. Please watch any of my videos talking about this thesis. I'm roughly going to go over it. You have the Iran war that causes energy prices to spike, that causes inflation in anyone that really needs energy, which is every single country. That means every single country now has tighter capital constraints. That means they have to raise their interest rates, like Japan and Asia, and all of them are struggling. What do they have to do? They have to sell our debt to prop up their debt and their currency. So they sell bonds, right? Which causes yields to go higher, which we'll get into, but you know, oh yeah, yields get higher. And then finally, that means the debt gets more expensive because yields are going higher. Debt is priced off of the 10-year yields. Since those yields are higher, the risk-free rate gets higher. So then they need to increase what they charge you so they get more margin, which means risk just keeps getting squeezed because risk capital needs the opposite of this. They need loose capital. They need money printer go burr, and we need balance sheets growing, and we need yields low, and all this other stuff. Okay, because if it costs you 6%, 7%, or 8%, you have to make 10, 11, or 12%. So that's what they're going to charge you for a mortgage because they need that 5% spread. They have to manage their margins. So that's the pressure. And Washington just blinked. Okay. Another reason why Bitcoin could be pumping and this is what I'm playing with, is because the Treasury announced essentially we are expanding the buyback program. So we are basically going to print money to buy the long tail of the debt. So people stop selling, or when they do sell, we actually are propping up the yields. Or I guess we're keeping the yields suppressed. That's a better way to say it. Okay. The Treasury decided that they are going to buy our debt, which basically means they are pulling a circuit breaker. They're like, oh my God, things are not looking good. We need to do something to keep the yields low because yields are getting way too high, way too quick. And this is all the data that's along with it. I mean, it is pretty insane. National debt crossed 40 trillion the same day the buyback was announced. So I mean, this is insane QE. If people are thinking, hey, we're going to walk into some quantitative easing, like we're going to get looser capital, we're going to get better interest rates and all this other stuff, Bitcoin could be running. Market's already priced that concept in. We got 70,000 Bitcoin. We got 2.7 billion in short positions liquidated in one day. And then we have almost half a billion in the ETFs in one day. That's more than the past 3.5 months. Think about that. Deeply overbought territory. And Forest Short Covering did a lot of work here. That's my argument, okay, for this being a bull trap. They priced in the QE. We're seeing it now. Yields are higher than when they announced. Like literally, they're higher than when they announced. And then you also have the Bank of Japan hiking to 1.25% potentially in September, which is just really bad. Okay. 30-year fixed mortgages are as high as 6.75% because of this. Okay. That's that net interest margin that they're managing. Okay. With the spread. Look at the increases. It's absolutely insane. So it's not helping. It's not helping. These are the headwinds Bitcoin's looking at. Medium home prices down 7.2%. Okay. You have a terrible trend right here from 2022 to present. And that's just when things started getting kind of sketchy in the Bank of Japan. Okay. Right around, honestly, like closer to right here. And then you have the actual dynamics. So this domino chain thesis, right? If mortgages get too high and houses, because they printed so much money, are priced too high, you're going to have not nearly as many buyers. That's how it connects to real estate. So right here, you're seeing that data. This is still true. It's growing and growing and growing and growing. This is a deep buyer's market. 10% is what they call a buyer's market. We're at 46 point. This is deep. This is insane. People locked in at 2 to 3 don't want to sell into a 6 and 7. That makes total sense. And then there's the buyers are stretched thin by affordability because it's that much more expensive. And then you actually go look at the credit in the AI trade and like how people are actually pumping the stock market, margins and all that stuff. We are seeing defaults climb from 2 to 6, tripling. It's significant. And then you have commercial backed securities at almost 13% delinquency. All right. This is not looking good. 65% of all 2025 private credit defaults is worse than the headline rate. That's insane. 6%. Moody's thinks it could be as high up as 65%. So I mean, it's now starting to crack. This could be $2 trillion that just goes up in smoke. And there's 1.6 trillion levered on the AI trade, which by the way is being financed by debt, which is getting more expensive, which will have to be refinanced. The energy to turn the computers on is higher. Their cost of capital is higher. The cost of actually shipping the products are higher. The cost of building the data centers are higher. If these AI companies did not account for that kind of forefront war with their balance sheet and their income statements, they're cooked, guys. They could be cooked. Now, here's where I do the hedge fund manager thing, where you argue against your own thesis. All right. The best argument I could say, like, let's say this isn't a bull trap, right? All of that regulation stuff is happening. That's all true. And then you also have this macro headwind that I've been watching that really scares me. All right. And it's terrible for risk capital. It's god awful. It's just the worst. Perhaps both could be true. And the way that would work is essentially The thesis is playing out. Cost capital is high. So now you have all this other capital that needs to go make more money. The hurdle rate has been increased to 3, 4% in the last 18 months. So in that scenario, if you know quantitative easing's on the way, the debasement trade is probably the best trade going forward. It also could mean that, AI is kind of topped out. The metals have certainly topped out, right? So then essentially you go into Bitcoin because of all those things we just talked about. It's more safe, feels right, feels good. And it is 43% down from its all-time high. Look how sexy that looks compared to gold or silver when you're trying to make the same trade. I'm not saying you move your entire like gold and silver and metals and like commodities position into Bitcoin, but if you hedge it with 5% Bitcoin, 2% Bitcoin, and it can get 150, 200% when the rest of it's getting like a solid 20, 30%, that could really help, especially when your cost of capital is getting higher and you expect that to continue. So they could actually be squeezed into Bitcoin right now. Like my thesis is holding, and this is another sign that Bitcoin also is getting mature and that people see it as more risk off. If Bitcoin is perceived as risk off and can be set shoulder to shoulder with gold, the conditions absolutely meet the thesis that this could actually be a bullish setup for Bitcoin on a macro. I mean that's where the analysis part really meets its head. You have to make a decision. What makes more sense? What's more probabilistic? Bitcoin jumping over into the risk off camp is a really far stretch for me. But if you know what will tell us that? Let's see Bitcoin break 100K in the next 60 days. If that happens, I doubt it'll come back to 60. But I'm still leaning to this is a bull trap. Is this the end of the bear market? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. I think this is a bull trap. I think the macro headwinds are insane, but those macro headwinds could be pushing investors into Bitcoin. It absolutely could. So, is this the end of the bear market? I don't think so. I do not think so. This could absolutely be an epic bull trap. Let's see if Bitcoin can break 80, then 90, then 100 in the next 60 days. If that happens, my thoughts will lean closer to the concept that Bitcoin has been adopted as a risk off asset and that they are being squeezed into Bitcoin as a position to basically get more returns because they're being pressured. It's a real pressure. So that would also make sense. That tracks. Right now, I am like 70-30, honestly. But if I see Bitcoin break 100 in the next 60 days, I might go 60-40 the other way. But right now, I do not think the bear market's over. Make sure you subscribe and get these sneak peeks and also just stay up to date on the market. That's the homework you need to do. That's how you actually make money when things are going down and you do the work. You see the rewards later. Buy low, sell high. Until next time, y'all, take care of one another. Peace and love.